What's up, guys? Pastor Josh here. So I want to share something super personal with you guys. Something that I haven't gone too far into. Something that I think is super important to talk about. And so I'm going to share it with you today. So when I was about 10 years old, my whole life changed, and not for the better. It's where a lot of the struggles I went through later in life started. And it's amazing how I can think back at the moment it happened and how that was the thing that began the downward spiral. So when I was about 10 years old, I started hanging out with this kid who was older than me. And I remember we were just hanging out one day, and he went into this whole story about his uncle who huffed gasoline, and he was talking to my dad, and he was talking about, yeah, that's so bad, that was horrible, and I can't believe he did that, and all this stuff. And then we walk away from my dad and we go to play in the woods, and the kid asked me, do you want to huff gas? And I remember it being strange because we shifted from talking about how bad that was to now possibly going to do it. But being a 10-year-old, I just thought, and he explained like, oh yeah, it makes you feel, it gets you high. And, it showed me like, okay, he's probably done this before. So anyways, I remember him handing me the gasoline can, and I remember putting my mouth on the hose and just inhaling it. And I remember did like 3, and I told him like, I don't feel anything. And he's like, well, try it again. So put my mouth on the hose, inhaled, and this time I felt something. And it was like you just zone out. It's weird. It's like you step out of reality completely. And the depth of what it does shows how horrible it is for your body and your brain. But went through it's like a mini trip that lasts maybe, 15 seconds. And then you come back. But bottom line is we did it again, and then we did it again, and then we did it again. And it kind of turned into, unfortunately, our thing that we did. And, it was also around that time to where that same boy started, inviting me to do sexual things with him. And looking back now, I recognize like that was manipulation, that was molestation. And so that was our thing. We'd huff gasoline, and he'd molest me basically. And it was what happened during that time from those experiences were I stopped going to school. It's like I changed completely overnight, and I stopped going to school. I basically refused to go to school. So like my week at school would look like, I'd a lot of times miss the whole week of school. And it started when I was in 4th grade, so 10 years old, missed the whole week of school. And then, maybe go to school 2 days a week. And if I went 3 days a week, oh man, like that was a big deal. Never would I go the full week. Like I can't even remember. Maybe once, I don't know. Honestly, I can't even remember going to school for a full week. But I would just wake up with no desire to do anything. And I remember it caused a deep depression for me. Like because I was huffing gas and staying at home, I started gaining a lot of weight. And I just felt horrible. I felt disgusting. And even when the molestation stopped, and even when the huffing of gasoline really slowed down, I still didn't go to school. I was stuck in this pattern. I was overweight. I was tired all the time. When I did go to school, I couldn't learn. My brain was affected by huffing gasoline, and the whole experience sucked. And And it was from 5th grade all the way through 7th grade that pattern happened. And, the saddest thing looking back is that, in school, you could see that something was really, really wrong. Me not showing up to school when I did show up to school, getting F's on like everything I did. And looking back, the hardest part was that no teacher stepped in with a genuine concern. It was only criticism, and it was only accusation, and it was only stuff like that, to the point to where when I was in elementary school, the school threatened to take me and my parents to court for truancy. And I mean, that's what it skipped to, rather than sitting me down and saying, hey Josh, what's going on? Like, it's obvious there's something wrong. Why are you missing all this school? Like, and honestly, to be transparent, I don't know what I would have said. I don't know if I would have said, oh, I've been huffing gasoline, or hey, I'm being molested. I don't know what I would have said. But the bottom line is that I never had the opportunity. And that makes me angry. It makes me angry to think back, like, I was really, really, really struggling at that time, and nobody came in. So, 4th grade, 5th grade, nothing. Went into middle school, had 6 teachers, still missing school. The only thing I ever heard was, do you miss a lot of school? I was like, yeah. Huh. And that was that. And then F, self-esteem going down, down, down. And it all started with the loss of my innocence. I guess that's a good way to put it. The introduction to drugs, which was the gasoline, and having my sexual innocence taken away, which is the molestation. And I want to go back to the importance of reaching into a child's life where you see that something is obviously wrong. Kids or adults aren't just the way they are, struggling just out of nowhere. Like, something has happened, and it's up to us as adults in our community to reach in and find out what's going on. Get away from the criticism, get away from the accusations, get away from writing these kids off as bad kids or whatever, because that's what happened to me. And years and years and years I went through feeling like I was horrible. I was nothing. All I get is F's. I'm overweight. I don't have any friends because I don't go to school. No girl would ever like me. And, that really sucked. And it wasn't until 7th grade, to where I have an older brother who's about 20 years older than me. My mom had 2 sets of kids. And I remember, I was out of control. My parents didn't know what was going on. And again, I will say it was up to my parents to step in, ask questions. But, again, they didn't know, and it's unfortunate. I'm not down putting them at all. Their solution was to send me out of the house. So I had to go live with my older brother and his family for... they were about 5 minutes away from my house, not far. And I was so stuck in this pattern of staying in my bedroom and not doing anything, that my brother literally had to drag me out of the house kicking and screaming, because I would not go. And basically, looking back at that, it's like I would not let go of this pattern that was hurting me so bad, not going to school. And by this point I started delving into pornography, and so I was stuck in that pattern. The molestation stopped, but then pornography came in. So it's this constant ripping away from my innocence, and I was just a shell of a boy. And so ripped out of my house, kicking and screaming, and I have to go live with my brother under his rules, which were very strict, and he became my father figure. And I remember just recognizing, like, okay, I don't have control anymore. Like, he took away my option to not go to school. He took away basically everything, to where looking back, it's like I'm starting at ground zero now. And I remember the first day I was living with him, after being dragged out of my house and forced to stay at this place that I didn't want to stay. I remember waking up, telling him I'm not going to school. And he's like, yes, you are. And I'm like, no, I'm not. So he grabs me and I'm in my pajamas, and he takes me to school in my pajamas. So I have to spend the whole day at school in my pajamas. And I remember at that point really recognizing that's it. No, like, I'm not in control anymore. And I remember accepting that I wasn't in control, and accepting the fact that I now lived with him and I had to go by his rules. So I started going to school, recognizing there was no other choice. And then going to school became easier. And I was out of my environment to where it's like, well, even though I wasn't huffing gas as much as I was when I was 10 years old, I wasn't huffing gas at all anymore. That wasn't an option. And things started to get better. Still, no teachers were reaching in, but because of my brother, things got better. He took me out of the pattern. And come 8th grade, I started going to school. There was absolutely no huffing gas at all anymore. And because I went to school, I started making friends. And fortunately at that time, I started getting taller. So my weight had diminished significantly. So I was tall and lean now. And, I started having, girls were interested in me, and everything started to change. And, even though I was not that great at school, because I was still stuck in the pattern of like, I'm dumb, why do I even try? At least I was going to school and I was getting like C's, passing grades. And, I lived with my brother for 3 months, and he felt at that time, I had gotten out of the pattern of not going to school. So I got to go live back home, and I went to school, and things started to change, and went into high school. All through, freshman year, I'd get like C's, but girls liked me, and I got a girlfriend and all that stuff. Had friends, and, 10th grade, things started getting better, but it wasn't until 11th grade, still getting like C's, passing grades, only because I was showing up and at least attempting the work. But I remember a teacher, I remember it very clearly. She came in and she said, Josh, I noticed your work isn't up to par. And she asked me the key question that I would have never even thought needed to be asked at that time. But she asked me, what do you need to succeed? And immediately, it's like it was in my heart just waiting to be asked. I said, results. I need to see results. I need to see I'm capable of doing this. So it's all she said. And she said, okay. And she walked away. At the end of our class, she came to me and she put our homework down. She circled like 3 of the questions that I needed to answer on my homework. And so she said, just do those. And there was like 10 or 15 questions. So I thought, oh, this is easy. I'm not overwhelmed by this. I answered them. And I don't even know if I got them right, but she brought the paper back with those 3 questions answered. And I had an A. And I was like, oh my gosh. And then the next day, circled like 3 questions and said, just do these. So I did those. Came back, got an A. And so I was succeeding in her class. And the amazing thing about that is I had 4 other classes, and my grades started to improve in those classes. So by the end of that semester, I had gone from, getting C's and D's, and I got a 4.0, all A's in all my classes. And there was no agreement with any of the other teachers except that one teacher that, hey, just do this work. And what that taught me was she reached in. I went all these years from 4th grade all the way up to junior year of high school. Nobody reached in. And then she reached in, and everything changed. And from that point on, I went to college in high school, this thing called Running Start, where I'm getting college credits and high school credits. And I'm getting 3.5s. I'm getting really good grades. And all through the rest of my college, all through, community college and music school and all that stuff, I got good grades, and I was not only an average student, I was an above average student, all because that teacher reached in. Now the reality is that nobody asked or knew about the huffing gas or the molestation until after high school, I think. And I remember now telling these people what was going on, and they were shocked, like, my family or my friends, and they were shocked, like, wow, I had no idea that you were being molested and you were huffing gasoline. And, it still is hurtful that nobody asked, but the reality is that if anything else, somebody reached in a way to help heal all those horrible thoughts I had about myself, all those horrible thoughts around not being smart, being overweight, not feeling attractive, and just not doing anything in life, just staying home. And God bless that lady. God bless that teacher. God bless my brother for stepping in and stopping this pattern, because the reality is, like, especially my brother, like, if he didn't step in, I don't know what would happen. I could have died. It wouldn't have been good. I definitely wouldn't be where I am now if it wasn't for him. So, God bless him. And I guess what I'm trying to get to with this whole thing, we got kids who are in pain, and these kids who are in pain will grow into adults. And, if nobody's going to step in, then there's so many damaging things that could happen. Patterns will continue. People will not feel they can step into their gifts or whatever they're called to do. They'll just go into drugs, and they'll go into the same pattern of destruction that was taught to them when they were kids. And I was talking to my wife a couple nights ago, and I told her, like, if there's anything that I could do supernaturally on this earth, it would be to meet with the 10-year-old me and be able to sit in a room and have unlimited time with the 10-year-old me. And I know what would happen. There would be so many tears on both ends, from him and from me. There would be so much hug. There would be so much affection. And there would be so much conversation. And if I had the opportunity to step in and be that father figure to my 10-year-old self, I would give anything. Like if there's anything I could do that would be supernatural, that I know I cannot do, it would be to be who I am now and to be able to sit with the 10-year-old me. And since that's not possible, the best thing I could do is to find a kid who's showing the same signs of what I was going through, and to be able to sit down with that kid and have a conversation. So that's what I encourage all of us adults to do, is to watch out for this. Don't write kids off as bad kids. Don't write kids off as losers. Don't write kids off because of their actions as kids, because you gotta look underneath. You gotta look underneath, because underneath that is pain. It's humiliation. It's abuse. There's so much underneath, and you could unwrap it for them and start the healing process. So just wanted to share that with you guys. God bless you guys. And if you have a story similar to that, and you feel convicted or you would like to, you can share it in the comments and we can talk about it. You can message me privately, joshua.wt777@gmail.com. Go ahead and write me, and we can talk if you need somebody to talk to. But there is hope, guys. There is hope, and I want you all to know that. God bless you guys.